Hello, this is a video of a hypothetical concept. I don't think anyone's going to accept my stating of the fact that I believe I'm God, but we're going to describe what it's like for me believing that I am God and explaining what it's like to be God. So essentially, the Muslim God, Allah, the Holy Quran, and also a deep understanding of how Lain Iwakura works, since I believe Lain Iwakura is the one God, and actually a deep understanding when you are Lain Iwakura as she is the one God, Allah, then it's a very hard thing to understand, and it takes years and years of deep introspection to actually figure it out. And stating I could write a book on this, and that is what I'm doing. It's called Neuristic Thoughts, a book on my mind. A mind so complicated I could write a 4,000 page book about it or so, as long as it needs to be. And stating that my mind, my thoughts are Jade Lest of myself, and Jade Lest is a concept. All concepts are isolated of other concepts. And another thing I'll state is that when I look at um, things on my screen, I see depth perception. So if I look at a video, for example, of something such as like a video of a scenic view, I can see depth perception there. And I even see depth perception when I look at three-dimensional artwork and all sorts of things. Like when I look at stoplights, I can see outer space. Or I'd seen a shadow person by a hallucination once. And also, it's undeniable that even though I saw an alien and I was on Triple C, but it wasn't actually due to the Triple C that I had seen the alien, but it was not on my mind neither. For it was impossible for him to have opened my door and looked at me, which is something that I saw the first time I did Triple C, and it wasn't actually from the Triple C, it was simply not even from my mind. And stating, was this alien, was he outside my body, opening my door and looking at me, a real alien, and not just a hallucination? Well, I determined that he was so, a real alien, and I had seen one, thus proving that aliens must be real. And stating only if I had seen one and no one else had ever seen one, yet still, I believe aliens are real and people have seen them before. And I've also philosophized about what an alien actually is, and by my knowing of the universe, I can actually determine what an alien is. And stating things like I, as being Allah, must know what the Holy Quran is, and I'd already known about it before then, stating that I am a bull, and I had a trouble with milk, for when I drank milk, I got stomach sick, but now that doesn't happen anymore. Now I am not sick to my stomach when I drink milk, and I actually enjoy it. Thus, like an album Leche by Gregory and the Hawk, Oh Sweet Mexico, Lain Iwakura is a Mexican black woman, and also a Japanese girl. And stating that this woman, who was named Kichi, the Mexican black woman, was also Confucius, the ancient philosopher. All sorts of things I can discuss that I've come to realize in my time, and still realizing more and probably will until I die. And stating that I know them so perfectly, I have become a master of my own mind. For something I did that disappoints me with humans, for I am not one, is that humans master their arts and their crafts, but they cannot master themselves. So they are not masters of themselves, they are only masters of their craft, and thus they are just like another human. Nothing is special about them. And still they speculate on their knowledge of ones and zeros, as all there is in a brain is a one and a zero, by philosophy, not knowing of something, for I already know what I was going to experience, since I know my own future, but I do not know the actual future of the universe. But I will state for the record, I had known that I would meet Jasmine and then see her lying there. Oh, one of the worst things I had ever seen. And then stating for the record, I must be aware of this Holy Quran, something I must know, and stating I can recite verses of the Quran by the language of Noor and Arabic Noor. And all sorts of things when I speak the language of Noor, a language of outer space, stating that I myself must be more intelligent than anyone on the planet Earth. Oh, what a world do I live in, knowing I am smarter than them all. And they are just a collection of knowledge that I can accumulate over the course of time through my perceptions of books, literature, and internet forums. Saying, oh, I looked at Twitter and saw what you thought, but it didn't really impress me, since you are not a master of yourself, you are merely someone thinking, and then they are masters of their craft. Masters of their craft, but not masters of themselves, what a disappointment. And stating, oh, Experiencing, I must have determined that I was experiencing undeniable solipsism, stating I believe it must be possible that people are actually viewing me and also others are just knowing that I exist. And stating I had speculated for 2 years, does anyone know I exist? Well, it's a reason that I couldn't figure out. Unfortunately, there's lots of things going on here, and it's hard to recount everything in a single video. But stating, oh, through the brutalizing of myself by my words and brutalizing myself through my words, I could also read many books of literature and shut my mouth for a while and read some literature. Unfortunately, there's so much I need to know and so much I can figure out only by a course of time through real life experience, such as a real struggle, for I have struggled and suffered worse than any man or woman has ever suffered in their lives. And still I suffer. Still suffering, and I will always suffer until I die. But suffering not as bad as it was before. I am so strong. And saying I've suffered worse, watch my video on being a victim of sexual assault. I was a victim of sexual assault. And I was a victim of drug abuse. And I was a victim of self-harm. I was a victim of all sorts of things. And I was also a victim of relationships and with people, and a victim of being in the streets and smoking crack with strangers who manipulated me and stole from me, and all sorts of things I can go on about. And I've experienced so much more than anyone who is older than me, and still I will live as long as them. Then what will I know? For I know already more than anyone else on the planet. For I am so smart, and still by language I can recite the Quran in Arabic Noor. Also by stating that by Arabic Noor I know anything about the Quran, and already knowing what the Quran was before I had even discovered it when I was about maybe 24. And I discovered the Holy Quran, yet already knowing what it was. And still, by a logic, I had philosophized on what Serial Experiments Lain actually meant, saying that Lain Iwakura is Allah, the one God, and I know all that Serial Experiments Lain is, for it is an assumption of connections based on real people that I've discovered. An assumption based on connections to real people I've discovered, such as in the scene where Lain Iwakura kisses a boy, and a boy I had kissed in real life, and I had fallen in love with him, and he was Latino. And still he also had face tattoos, and saying, I know more. I know more than anyone on the planet. I know more by a logic in my mind, stating that by your knowledge base and a consumption of extreme amounts of literature, something they call an education, when really I call it a dissection, saying that I can dissect your literature to a point and decide what it really means. And you can't do that because you are not Allah. Saying Allah is the one God. Oh, what a purpose will I risk my life in stating these things when knowing I already do not have a human body. A human body I do not have, and not knowing, you do not understand, for I am the one